Okay, so betting in Hong Kong, it's huge, right? I mean, you hear about it everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're listening in, you probably want to know more.
Yeah.
Like, well, where to find the best spots to actually, get started.
Exactly. It can be overwhelming if you're just kind of dipping your toes in.
Totally. So we came across this site, BetPlace, which seems to have a pretty good handle on the whole scene in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it looked really comprehensive.
Yeah.
And they seem to break things down in a way that's easy to understand, so we figured, why not use that as a jumping off point for our own deep dive?
Exactly. We can kind of cut through the noise and pull out the need-to-know stuff for you guys, like what's legal, what's not, how to actually get started, and, what to look for when you're choosing a site.
Plus, we'll get into some of the big names that BetPlace highlights, the top contenders in the Hong Kong market.
Definitely. So first things first, let's get a grip on the betting landscape in Hong Kong. What's the legal situation?
Great, because that's important. You don't want to jump in without knowing the rules of the game.
Totally. So according to BetPlace, you've got the China Sports Lottery, which is obviously massive.
Yeah, everyone's familiar with that.
And then there's the Hong Kong Jockey Club, which is kind of in a league of its own.
They're the only game in town for horse racing, football, and the lottery, right?
Exactly. It's a huge part of the local culture. But things get interesting when you start talking about online betting with those foreign sites.
Yeah, because that's technically banned in Hong Kong.
Right. But BetPlace points out that enforcement's a bit lax.
Like it's not a top priority for the authorities.
Seems that way. Lots of international platforms operate there, and people use VPNs all the time to access them.
So it's kind of a gray area.
Exactly. You have this official ban in place with pretty serious penalties for illegal gambling. But at the same time, these foreign sites are super accessible and popular, according to BetPlace.
Makes you wonder what their approach really is. Maybe they're focusing more on bigger illegal operations and less on individuals just placing bets.
Could be. It's important to be aware of this whole situation, as we go through what BetPlace has to say about actually betting online.
For sure. And to be totally clear, we're just laying out what BetPlace says. We're not saying go do this or endorsing any particular site.
Exactly. We're just trying to present the information as clearly as possible.
So let's say someone's interested in checking out these foreign betting sites. How do they actually get started?
Well, the first step is pretty standard. Just like setting up any online account, give some basic details.
Like what kind of information are we talking about here?
Usually a valid photo ID, could be a Hong Kong ID card or a passport,
Mm-hmm.
and then proof of address.
Okay, so like a utility bill or bank statement.
Exactly. And of course, you'll need to set up a way to deposit and withdraw money.
Right. So what are the options there? How do people typically fund their accounts and get their winnings out?
BetPlace lists a few common methods. For deposits, you've got things like Chinese UnionPay debit cards, bank transfers, and even e-wallets like Skrill and Neteller.
I've heard of those.
Some platforms even accept cryptocurrencies for deposits.
Wow, so they're really keeping up with the times.
Yeah, it seems so. But for withdrawals, it looks like bank transfers are the most common way to go.
Okay, so you've figured out the legal side of things, you know how to open an account, and you've got a handle on the payment options. Now comes the big question. How do you choose a betting site?
Yeah, there are tons of them out there. So how do you pick one you can actually trust?
Especially in a landscape like this.
Exactly. BetPlace really stresses the importance of going with licensed and regulated sites. That's your starting point for making sure things are fair and secure.
So it's like looking for that stamp of approval.
Exactly. BetPlace points to licenses from organizations like the UK Gambling Commission or the Malta Gaming Authority as good signs. They have pretty high standards for fairness, security, and player protection.
So it's not just about finding a site with good odds.
Definitely not. You also want to look at their security measures. How are they protecting your personal and financial data?
That's crucial.
For sure. And BetPlace reminds us to think about the range of sports and betting markets they offer. Do they have the stuff you're actually interested in?
Right. No point signing up if they don't even have the sports you follow.
And don't forget about things like competitive odds, convenient payment options, good customer support, and a user-friendly interface.
So many factors to consider.
It's true, but it's worth taking the time to find a site that's a good fit for you.
Now, BetPlace actually goes a step further and highlights some of the top betting sites in Hong Kong.
Yeah, they've got a whole list of contenders. Want to go through some of them?
Absolutely. Let's see what makes them stand out. First up, Bet365. What's the deal with them?
BetPlace mentions their huge sportsbook as a major plus. They've got tons of sports and betting options, plus they offer live betting and a really solid mobile app.
Sounds pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, they seem to cover a lot of bases.
Okay, what about 1xBet? They're another big name.
Definitely. BetPlace describes them as this global platform with a massive number of events to bet on, like over 30,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
They've also got this multi-live feature where you can bet on multiple live events at the same time, plus a high user rating like 4.9 out of 5 and a welcome bonus of up to 1,100 HKD.
So they're popular and they offer a lot of variety.
Seems like it. Next, we've got Melbit.
Okay, what's their claim to fame?
They've also got the multi-live betting thing going on, so that seems to be a trend. And BetPlace mentions their wide range of sports, including things like football, basketball, tennis, and even esports.
Esports is getting huge.
Totally. And BetPlace says Melbit has competitive odds. They even mention a house edge of up to 8% on some events.
Remind me what house edge is again?
It's basically the bookmaker's profit margin built into the odds. So a lower house edge means better potential payouts for you.
Ah, got it.
BetPlace also highlights Melbit's user-friendly mobile app. Seems like that's becoming more and more important for these sites.
Makes sense. People are always on their phones.
Exactly. Now, Betfair is a little different from the others.
Yeah, I've heard of them. They're a betting exchange, right?
Right. So instead of betting against the bookmaker, you're actually betting against other users who are taking the opposite position.
Interesting. So it's more like a marketplace.
Exactly. BetPlace says this can sometimes lead to better odds.
Yeah.
Because you're not dealing with the bookmaker's margin.
So you could potentially get a better return.
Right. But BetPlace does mention that Betfair tried to get into Hong Kong racing a while back and ended up pulling out.
Why was that?
Apparently, there just wasn't enough activity or liquidity compared to the Hong Kong Jockey Club.
Makes sense. The Jockey Club's pretty entrenched.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 888 Sport.
What do they have to offer?
BetPlace talks about their user-friendly interface and a really good mobile experience. They also highlight their promotions and bonuses, including a sign-up offer of free bets worth 30 euros after you deposit 10 euro.
Not bad.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good deal.
Okay, next up is William Hill.
Ah, a classic. BetPlace describes them as a really well-known and trusted brand with a huge range of betting options across over 45 sports.
Wow, so you're pretty much guaranteed to find what you're looking for.
Pretty much. They also have a welcome bonus where you get £30 in free bets after placing a £10 bet.
So a good option for both new and experienced bettors.
Seems like it. Now, for the gamers out there, we've got Pinnacle.
They're known for their esports offerings, right?
Exactly. BetPlace says they're particularly good for esports because they have super low profit margins. Like, they claim their margins are 60% better than other bookmakers.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, it means you could get much better returns if you win.
Makes sense.
Plus, they have a massive selection of esports markets covering games like Counter-Strike, League of Legends, and Overwatch.
So basically, if you're into esports, Pinnacle's worth checking out.
For sure. Now, for those who are maybe just getting started with online betting, BetPlace suggests Betway.
Oh, why is that?
They say it's super easy to use, with a simple interface and a straightforward process for deposits and withdrawals.
So it's good for beginners who might be a little intimidated by the whole thing.
Exactly. Plus, they have a solid live betting platform, so you can get in on the action as it happens.
Nice. What about EspoBet? I've heard that name before.
They're big in Asia. BetPlace describes them as specialists in Asian handicap betting.
What's that?
It's a type of spread betting that's really popular in Asian markets, where one team gets a virtual advantage or disadvantage to even out the odds.
Interesting.
BetPlace highlights EspoBet's competitive odds, their wide range of markets, and their strong presence in Asia. They even mention that EspoBet won Asian Operator of the Year back in 2009 and 2010.
So they've got a good reputation in the region.
Definitely. Okay, last but not least, we have DAFABet.
What's their specialty?
BetPlace points out their excellent odds, especially for live casino games.
So for those who like a bit of casino action.
Exactly. And they mentioned DAFABet's strong security features. They even cite a customer support rating of 4.5 out of 5.
That's reassuring.
Definitely. And they offer a wide range of sports, including some more niche ones like boxing, esports, and Formula One, plus a live betting feature called SpeedBet and a pretty generous welcome bonus.
So something for everyone.
It seems that way.
Well, that's a pretty comprehensive overview of some of the top betting sites in Hong Kong, based on what BetPlace has to say.
Yeah, they provide a really useful platform for comparing all these different options.
Definitely worth checking out if you want to do a deeper dive on your own. So as we wrap things up, what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think it's clear that Hong Kong has a really vibrant betting culture. There are tons of international online bookmakers operating there, despite the legal complexities.
Right. And the most important thing is to do your research before choosing a site. Look for those licenses, consider their security measures, and think about what features and specializations matter most to you.
Exactly. Some sites are better for certain types of bets and certain sports, while others might be more user-friendly or offer better bonuses. It all comes down to personal preference.
So think about what you're looking for in a betting platform. What are your priorities?
Exactly. And remember, the landscape is constantly changing. With the evolution of online betting and the specific regulations in Hong Kong, things could look very different in a few years.
Definitely food for thought. So stay informed, folks, and keep an eye on the trends.
For sure.
And if you're eager to learn more about these betting sites, remember to check out BetPlace. The link is in the episode description. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of online betting in Hong Kong.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.